Heard on Thursdays with Nikki is about to go live online. Catch HOT, the iconic radio show that made Philippine FM radio talk, every Thursday on the Monster. Streaming video on the Monster Facebook page at RX931, the Monster YouTube channel at RX931, and twitch.tv/Monster RX931. You heard on Thursday's host, Nikki Porter. Stand by and enjoy the program.
Hey, monsters! Yes, good evening to everybody. Welcome to October and the fourth quarter of 2022. It's Nikki Porter with you for more hot conversations in HOT that's heard on Thursdays, the show that made FM radio talk, Philippine FM radio talk specifically, heard only on Manila's hottest Monster RX93.1. Satnam. It's a yoga mantra that means truth is my identity or truth is my name. As a greeting, it's like saying, I see your true nature or I recognize the divinity within you. So it's the favorite greeting of our guest tonight. She's a metaphysician, a life coach, a Reiki and energy healer, and a Facebook influencer. She's also the organizer of the Harvest Convention, which is a gathering of thought leaders, community builders, visionaries, and leaders without a title for the purpose of empowerment, motivation, and celebration. Metaphysics is the study of being. As a life coach and content creator, she aims to help people harvest their full potential and celebrate the joy of being alive. Heard on Thursdays, we welcome back Reverend Reg Tan. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Nikki. Satnam, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing very well. Very excited to catch up with you and know more about what it is that you practice as your career. So, welcome back. And a lot of water has flowed under the bridge since you first guested on the show in late 2019 with Rafi and JC, and in early 2021 with JC again. Shout out to Marky, by the way, who introduced this to you. So thank you, Marky, for offering us Reverend Reg also, and in getting to know Reverend Reg as well and her practice. So you've been pretty busy all throughout the pandemic as a content creator and organizer of the Harvest Convention. But all I usually ask my guests for the first question, what were you doing during the pandemic that was different from your job or your career? What kept you busy? What kept you sane?
Yeah, all right. So let's talk about what kept me busy. The first thing was first learning how to self-regulate.
Mm,
Self-regulate meaning understanding that I'm a person who has thoughts running in her head and
yeah,
who has feelings and emotions that's also playing a part in my everyday life.
that's
And
right.
by self regulating, I mean I'm becoming aware of what's running in my thoughts and in my emotions. And it's very important for me to have that awareness because I know that if I let those thoughts and those feelings and emotions keep running, then it's going to create an experience. And whether I like the experience or not, it's
Mm,
because of the way I regulate my thoughts and emotions.
yes.
Not a lot of people are aware of it, but I'm
Right.
sure, Nikki, you had the chance to watch the Secret movie.
Mm. No, but self-regulating, that's super important though. I've learned about that recently as well. So,
That's
so apart from keeping you busy though, learning how to self-regulate, what about that kept you sane? I'm guessing that did a little bit of that also. That did help.
Yeah, actually, I took a lot of courses during the
Mm,
pandemic. Especially, There were a lot of courses that were available, offered at a more affordable price.
true.
So I took a lot of courses to keep my mind in order because I think if you don't have a goal, basically you scatter your thoughts, you scatter your energy, and when you feel scattered, then it's the start of feeling negative about what's happening in your life. But in truth, there's really no one direction where you're driving yourself to move forward to. And it's not really about depression, but it's more about, hey, you're not intending to do something.
Mhm.
So you are a big, massive, dynamic energy. And if you don't have a goal, then basically you're just allowing yourself to scatter your forces.
Mm, gotcha. Well, at least you're able to take some courses for you to be able to. I mean, that's growth, did it? That's also learning how to improve your skill, hone your skills. Also, that could be helpful eventually in the future or in your current career now. So, when you last guested, Reverend Reg, it was in the middle of the pandemic, and it was a very weird, very anxious time to say the least. We asked you then, was there an otherworldly or metaphysical aspect to everything that was happening? I mean, after all, the metaphysical realm is behind objective realities.
Yeah, that's a great question because a lot of spiritual teachers are saying that it's called the Great Reset because life is basically operating in the principle of order. So there's a natural order in the universe,
Hmm.
and our planet Earth is governed by order. So apparently, a lot of us, a lot of our activities as human beings, I think we really pushed ourselves to the brink of what caused the COVID 19, and we were moving so fast, faster than what the natural order of this planet can handle. And in order to bring us back into alignment and into harmony, we had to experience the lockdowns, we had to experience slowing down so that we can rethink collectively where are we going in terms of our priorities.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, like all of us had to slow down. All of us had to go through this significant change from what was usual in our lives to eventually being at a standstill. Though, like the world was at a standstill for like a couple days, and so like you see those photos, it's kind of surreal also that we lived through that. So it's surreal now that we are kind of like we are not in that state anymore. We're just like growing through the progress of like the waning of of COVID-19 and of the pandemic. So now that we're getting out of it, the pandemic, and things are getting better, a better normal, so to speak, what metaphysical actions and attitudes can we take so things can become more and more positive, not not in relation to the virus, but more and more positive as in the outlook or an outcome?
All right, that's good to know. And that you're asking that question because number one, the thing that I want to share with everyone, we have to accept that there's a new normal, even if we say that the COVID cases have slowed down now compared to what we initially experienced. We both know, Nikki, there are still cases that are happening for COVID 19 in our place. So, the first thing that I want to encourage everyone to do is to ask yourself, what is it that you really, really want to do? Because that has given you a significant amount of time to check on your priorities and to go after audaciously about the things that you're passionate about. Because number one, we didn't really have that strict work setup. If you remember, a lot
Hmm.
of people had to work from home, and a lot of people also had the free time because they didn't really have work. So it also gave everybody that opportunity to discover themselves and discover gifts that they didn't even know they had before. So personally for me, the reason why I started creating content, especially during the lockdown, was I also realized, hey, you know what, metaphysics can help a lot of people, especially cope with the intensity of the change. It was so fast
Right.
that if you didn't have the awareness of how to handle it, you can really, you can implode. or it would have cost you so much stress, you would have exploded in that uh, scenario.
Mhm.
So one, encourage everyone to really go after the thing that you're passionate about, because that's where you have the abundance of energy. And in fact, one of the things that I want to share with everyone, the reason why I love sharing metaphysics so much is because, number one, as a micro business owner, you're trying to set up a system for your business, and you're trying to get more regular clients, and you're doing a lot of things most of the time on your own because you just have so much budget when you're starting. But when you know metaphysics, you know that no matter how challenging things may seem at times, it's all temporary. Because what you keep planting every day, in terms of your work ethic, in terms of your intention, and how you utilize meditation to speed things up for you, it's always going to create an outcome, and it will never, never be futile. Because when you plant a seed, let's say you intend to start a business or start a new craft, and then you put in the work ethic, and you're really focused on becoming masterful at what you do, there's no way you're not gonna land a break.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a breakthrough experience if you handle your emotions and your impatience very well.
That's true. It's really a point of just trying to keep pushing, even if, like, especially when you have those moments of failure or moments of like making mistakes. It's about really pushing and making sure that you remember why you started, diba? I think that's what a lot of people try and they usually forget when they're already in the middle of like like growing their business or starting their business. Remember why you started is, I find, to be like a powerful thing also to kind of keep in store so that you can keep yourself in check so that you don't get overwhelmed. But yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And so how do we get out of this though? Like with this anxiousness, this weirdness that's happening, how do we get out of this through metaphysics?
Yeah. Thank you for that insight, Nikki, because that's a very good way to put things together, especially knowing your motivations, knowing your deep why before before you give up on something. Because one of the things that metaphysics is so useful to all of us is when you write down on paper what exactly it is that you'd like to bring about in your life, the change that you'd like to experience. One of the first things that I encourage everybody to do is to release the weight of your past.
Mm.
Clear clutter from anything that reminds you of how good your past was. Because a lot of us are stuck at the moment, not because there aren't opportunities right now, but because we think that the good thing we experienced in the past is the only source of joy and happiness that you're ever going to have in your life.
Yeah.
But if you decide to release the past and make way for the new good that's happening right now, the new good that's presenting itself to you, then you'll be able to see the magic in that period, and you begin to realize, oh my god, it was just causing me to grow, to expand, to realize that my life has more meaning, purpose, and joy.
Ah, for sure. A lot of people really do like to think that we love to some of a lot of us get nostalgic. No, a lot of us like to reminisce because, like, oh, those were the good old days. Oh, this was such a good time in my life. But I've been a fan of like quotes as of late. So it's like there was this one quote. It's like there's a bunch of places and a bunch of people that you haven't even met yet who already like love you or something. I mean, it's a very cheesy, but at the same time, it makes sense because it's like we we fail to sometimes see the bigger picture, right? And like seeing how the universe sometimes works and the universe sometimes comes together even in those moments of like failure or like those low moments. Like it's really just you're still in the trajectory of being, what do you call this, or of like being in the right path and like kind of just pushing you forward to where it is that you are meant to go. So I think for monsters that would be a nice reminder, no? If there are failures that you encounter, it's not the end, and your better days are ahead. That's another good quote that I've seen. Very good. So will it eventually lead to something good? Can we, with our human faculties, Reverend Reg, human faculties and powers, can we make what we experienced in the last 2.5 years lead to something good?
Absolutely. And it's amazing when you talked about, being nostalgic, because one of the things that I really encourage people to do is to break free from the patterns of your past. And one of the most important elements that you have to consider is getting into an exercise program, because your body stores emotions. And sometimes you think, you know what, I'm aiming for a goal and I'm not able to execute it the way I really wanted it. So maybe it's not for me. But in truth, your body is conditioned to be a certain way because you are conditioned to feel certain emotions unless you exercise, you fast, and you meditate. Because when you decide, for example, in meditation, you close your eyes and then think about everything that's weighing you down mentally and emotionally. And then you decide that you're going to release the weight of those thoughts, those feelings and emotions, and set it aside. Like there's a box to your right, and just release everything there. And then touch your heart and then close your eyes, project through your third eye point the kind of person you want to be, the kind of lifestyle you want to have, and feel those new emotions. And do this in the beginning. I would encourage you to do it for just 10 minutes a day. Maybe for 3 days, do it for 10 minutes. And then for the next 3 days, do it for 20 minutes. And then the next thing before you start taking physical action to that kind of intention that you want to manifest, it becomes a lot easier to demonstrate. Unlike in the past when you were just, hey, this is my goal, and then I start taking action without the emotion being conditioned and without the body being conditioned to move to that direction. Because if you're here in your mind and then you start taking the physical action, but you haven't programmed your body yet to feel the emotions that you're going to feel, to experience that new kind of lifestyle, that new kind of person that you want to be, it's like you're working against yourself. Because one of the most amazing resource persons that you can find in YouTube, his name is Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he talks about the body being conditioned to be a certain way. And if you're so conditioned to be depressed, let's say during COVID, let's say you broke up with someone and then you're still stuck in that space, in that time and space and those emotions. And now you really want to move forward with your life. One of the best things that you can do is first to release the weight of your past. Like what I mentioned earlier, you close your eyes, you meditate, you release it to a box to your right, and then close your eyes again, envision yourself, think about the kind of new person you want to be and what kind of emotions are you going to have with that new kind of being.
Hmm.
And then you start taking action. It's going to be easier for you to demonstrate that kind of person and that kind of experience, because this isn't anything new. Even athletes actually practice what I'm saying even before they go into their games.
Mm. So just to clarify, it's to set the intention first so that your body is aligned with what it is that you want to do, like with the action. So the action comes later. The intention comes first. Is that what I'm trying? Is that what I'm getting from you? Like a few days you set the intention for when you meditate,
Yeah.
and then eventually when you're ready. How do you know when you're ready?
For example, I want to share this with you. I've been doing this 30 minutes sitting down, quiet meditation. And when I started, I felt how restless my body was.
Mm.
You're just going to sit down for 30 minutes and keep quiet. And since I'm very active, it's so challenging for me to just sit down for 30 minutes.
Mm-mm.
So on my first day, I kept moving, but I was really quiet. I was trying to do it. And on the second day that I did it, I spent 15 minutes more concentrated on that particular activity. And when it came to my third practice, I had I was able to do it 20 minutes longer. So you see, when you decide to really practice, at least the first thing that you have to do is let go of old thoughts, old feelings, old inner conversations. We have a lot of that, Nikki. I'm sure you also have it.
True. True.
So the moment that you decide, hey, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to release all those inner conversations, those previous thoughts, and those previous emotions, you're going to enjoy how much lighter you feel and how much space you have mentally.
That's true.
It's just so expansive when you realize after doing the practice of just releasing the thoughts, the emotions, and your previous inner conversations. It's so freeing. So begin with that.
Mm-mm. And so
And
so it'll
go
take a
ahead.
few days. It'll take a few days until you decide to take action. Is that right?
Actually, for me, I'm not so rigid with don't take action uh, when you
Oh,
feel the urge already. But at least for me, give yourself the time to sit down, because one of the things why I love saying Satnam, it means truth is my identity. And one of the things that the Bible, although I'm not really religious in the theological way, when you talk about be still and know, the Satnam
mhm.
and what the Bible verse mentioned, be still and know, it's about realizing that there's great power within you. There's divinity within you. So there's no storm, there's no challenge in your life that you will not be able to navigate with ease and grace. But
Mm,
first, you have to be still and know that there's great power locked up inside of you.
that's great. I mean, I think it's also about be still and burn. Know that there's great power within you, but there's also great power at play and watching over you too. Whichever divinity it would be. I think. I mean, I don't. That's my interpretation of it also. But I mean, it's also reassuring, right, to know that you're not alone in this. Like, there are some things here in this world that are actually trying to push you to be better, even if you can't see it. But sometimes you have that feeling that you are being pushed towards something better and greater than what you thought was already great and better. Now, like a lot of people, they're still having difficulty in dealing with present circumstances. So even as people are starting to go back to the office and to school and to shop and do business, travel, to resume their out of home activities, how do we maintain a positive outlook through all of that?
That's a good question. So I want to go back to what we talked about, this great power within you,
Hmm.
because, like what you said, there's great power inside of you and also outside of you. So, metaphysically, we call it with, in our language, we say the God beyonders, where you think that God is outside of you, and the God withiners, God is inside of you. But
Mm,
scientists are saying it's actually correct, both of them. So, what you're getting in life as an experience is a form of information from the field of energy, from this intelligent field of energy where, hey, you know what, I intended something this morning and I'm getting a response from the universe, from the source.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm intending to have a happy day and it seems like I'm not getting a happy day because people are all upset for some reason and that's how they're responding to me, if I have great power within me, am I going to be swayed by the negativity around me, or am I going to be the power in this experience? So it's amazing when you realize that, because in metaphysics we talk about God. One of the aspects of God we talk about is infinite intelligence. So if that aspect of God is infinite intelligence, how can you not navigate your challenging situations? And if you're not feeling happy because you think, hey, you know what, the thing that I really want to experience right now is not happening, so I'm not happy. But what if just realizing that you have great power, great creativity locked inside of you is enough reason for you to enjoy your time?
Mm.
That you can pull anything from your sleeve and you can actually have a good time by yourself. Wouldn't that be enough reason for you to stay uplifted regardless of what's happening?
Mm. For sure. I mean, again, like during those moments, yeah, like when we focus too much on like the negative, we fail to we we'll tend to forget that we have been through so many things already that we are capable of pulling through it, and we are capable of like um being resilient through it, because we've somehow always found it within ourselves that we're not gonna stay still, in the sense of like not do anything, but eventually we will be led to do something that would um push us into becoming better versions of ourselves. So, in terms of like our fears, our insecurities, and pessimism, how do we let go of all of that, which the pandemic brought about?
Amazing. That's a good question because it's true. All of us are vulnerable. We can all feel swayed by what's happening around us. It also happens to me. But the thing is, when you realize, okay, I'm just going to allow myself 10 minutes of crying my heart out. And after 10 minutes, I'm going to ask myself, how does it get any better than this? What else is possible? How can I experience more magical demonstrations in my life?
Hmm.
Because it's so important to unload your heart, to unload your mind with all the negativity and all the emotions that make your heart go haywire. You
Hmm.
really have to unload first. I'm not a big fan of just be positive right away, because
Right.
negative thoughts and negative emotions, they actually occupy literal space in your head and in your heart. So you really have to cry it all out, or you need to talk to someone who has the energetic capacity to listen to you without judgment.
Hmm.
You know, you asked me earlier about what kept me busy during the pandemic and the recovery period. And one of the things that I took was a class on The Mighty Heart by Dr. Scylla L. Worthy, who's the founder of the Oxford Research Center. And she made this course, the Mighty Heart course. One of our subjects there was to study nonviolent communication.
Mm.
And I think it's so important, Nikki, for for a lot of us to take that course, because this happens normally in conversations. You know, one of our friends or our family members, they're really down and out and they're just really wanting to be in that space where they can unload.
Hmm.
They don't want any advice, they just want to unload
Right.
the crap that they're feeling right now. And we have this human tendency to, oh, don't feel bad, come on, enjoy. You know,
True.
we don't allow for people to have the space to first unload how they feel, or the heaviness of what's weighing their mental health. So, one of the things that I think is very important for us to practice, especially I learned this from the Mighty Heart course as well, is to ask, how are you really doing? It's a simple question, but it's super important and can be healing on its own when we just practice it more often and really take the time to listen to other people and not give them advice. And I know that it's not easy to do because I also had to learn it.
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, a lot of us, yeah, I totally agree. A lot of us usually want to be the fixer, want to be the helper for whoever has a problem and they want to vent. And sometimes though they just want to vent. They want a sounding board that who will listen but not necessarily give advice unless it's like solicited advice that they're looking for. So it's definitely something that we have to learn and refrain from doing if it's unsolicited because sometimes that's like a turn off. It's like I'm opening up to you, but I didn't really ask like for your opinion on it or what I should do about it. Sometimes, people just need to vent and sometimes we don't see that that's all that they really want. Now, how do we achieve peace of mind? How can we maintain a metaphysical state of positivity and prosperity for the rest of 2022 and beyond?
That's a good question. First, let's start with peace of mind. So, I don't know of anything better than unloading your thoughts and your emotions through writing, literally writing. These are the things that I'd like to eliminate from my life right now, and then write them all down. And then making sure that you're clearing physical clutter regularly, because the things that we have, they hold certain energies, and if those things maybe are sources of happiness in the past and you're reminiscing about it, you have no time for the new good or new happiness to fill your life, then it's not gonna come to pass. Even if you feel that sometimes situations are unfair, just the decision to forgive painful things in your life will help you maintain that inner peace and composure. And it's super important for all of us to decide, hey, you know what? Whatever happens around me, I'm going to choose inner peace. I'm going to choose forgiveness of other people, not because they asked for it, but because I want my inner peace and my alignment to the highest and best in me. Because the moment we don't want to forgive, our decisions, it becomes affected and you become cynical. But in truth, you were just really holding on to the negativity. And it's not because of other people, it's because you're not deciding to let go and let God or the higher power, if you're not really comfortable with the word God. So, but once you understand that you're the point of attraction in your life, that the things that you feel, say, do, and think about constantly produce vibrations. And if you're doing those things constantly, repeating certain thoughts constantly, repeating certain emotions over and over again, repeating certain narrative over and over again, then you're also acting a certain way many times over. And that particular vibration that you carry around, that's the point of attraction. You're going to keep attracting experiences in your life that you may like or do not like because you're still vibrating the same way.
Yeah, that's pretty what do you call this? That struck a chord with me for sure because it's like there again it's always like with those negative moments doesn't matter what the root cause of it is, but it's very, it can be so powerful. It can really suck you in and make you keep, so, and sometimes you feed it pa that it eventually becomes something that you have to figure out how to climb out of when you've dug that pit of like negativity. So I think it's a good thing to know that what we really put out there with our energies, our emotions, that really does have an effect, and it does have a ripple effect, I guess, in the outside world and how we receive things. And so now I want to know how metaphysics actually works. Like, what is it in the first place? It's the first time I'm hearing of it. And why do you call yourself a metaphysician life coach?
All right. So those are good questions, Nikki. First, let me answer what metaphysics is. It's a branch of philosophy that talks about the root cause of the experiences that we have in our lives, whether good or bad. And I call myself a metaphysician because if you have doctors for the physical body, you also have doctors for the soul. And
Mhm.
metaphysicians are doctors for the soul because if we have court judges to talk about human laws, you also have metaphysicians to help you out untangle yourself from unnecessary lack and limitation that you're experiencing right now that's causing you unhappiness, depression, and just a pattern of bad luck over and over again. Once you understand that you have spiritual laws that you can use to neutralize the seeming difficulty in your life, no matter how challenging the situation may be, you're always going to feel empowered and uplifted, even if sometimes it gets so confusing and you also feel overpowered by the negativity. And before we talk about just being negative, I want to share this with our listeners because this is super important. When people get into a string of negative decisions or they seem so cynical, it's because one of the reasons for that, they've been traumatized so bad in the past. The damage was so deep that they have no other way to respond to a similar situation other than what they've been accustomed to. It's not that people want to be constantly negative because subconsciously the life principle, this intelligent universe, this intelligent spirit that we keep talking about, it really wants to help you become a happier, more fulfilled human being. It's just that on the physical level, the shock and trauma was too much to handle, that you have no other way to operate than just to stay there. And that's why those three things that I shared earlier, the three questions: how does it get any better than this? What else is possible? And how can I get more magical demonstrations? If you're able to first release and admit to yourself that you're having a hard time, oh my God, this is really challenging, I'm having a hard time, I'm letting it go and I'm letting the infinite intelligence handle this for me. And then you just start asking, how does it get any better than this? What else is possible? How can I experience more magical symphonies? So, or magical answered prayers? Then, energetically, your words will create a response to your questions, and you have to pay attention because the people you talk to next after you ask those questions, or there's probably a song playing, or you read something online in social media that totally resonates with you,
Mhm.
then you know that you're getting a message from the universe out
That's
of that questions that you were asking. Because, like what I mentioned earlier, in metaphysics, another term for God is infinite intelligence or all knowing mind of God. So, metaphysics is a study of how we're all interconnected as well. So here you are, you're a big vortex of energy, whether you're being positive right now or feeling all your trauma and being negative. The moment you want to untangle yourself from that because you start asking more empowered questions, then the universe is going to respond to you with answers, but you have to listen carefully and take inspired action.
Mhm. I love that you said that what's this? When we ask, those questions and kind of just like it could feel like a shout into the void, especially if it's something that's new to you. Like that's the listening part, like the response that you do receive. Sometimes I do actually do that, not knowing it's metaphysics pala. It's but sometimes I do that. I do ask questions like, what do I do now? Like, should I do this? Like all of these questions that are plaguing me and trying to make better decisions true enough, sometimes I do listen, and yeah, there's a song that's playing. It's like it's a little too on the nose, but it's like it's something that that somehow resonates, or something that you see online on social media, like with the quotes that I mentioned with you, Reverend Reg, about like I ask a question, and next thing I know, the first thing I scroll, the first post I see somehow has the answer. So it's really interesting how it works that way, and also how I feel like it overlaps in different ways that people believe, like in like the super not supernatural, but it's just like the way that the universe works. Because right, there's tarot, there's Reiki, there's also all these intuitive practices that people do. So there is some semblance of it, and which just fascinates me, and it's fascinating me talking to you about it as well. It's like it's kind of like there's some truth to it, and so I'm not making anything up, which is great. So how do you use metaphysics in your life coaching then?
All right. So, a lot of the things that you mentioned are very interesting. And I want to go back to the decision making part first because, Nikki, I think this is an area where we can help a lot of our listeners tonight.
Okay, sure.
And decisions are so important because, honestly, my attraction for metaphysics was how it was going to make me thrive in my personal affairs
Mm,
and just
yeah.
how to make things right, the things that I didn't know were really affecting my personal life or my professional life. Because when I didn't know about metaphysics, I did not always make intelligent choices.
Hmm.
And there were choices that I made which caused me my own challenges. And this may I know we're not supposed to regret anything, but a part of me, if there's only something that I regret, is that if I made anything that was miscalculated, it caused other people inconvenience. Because it's all right if it was just you was affected by your
Right.
you know self-discovery process. But if it involved other people, of course none of us really want to do that consciously.
Yeah.
So anyway, when it comes to decisions, for example, one of the things that is very attractive to me is how very successful entrepreneurs leverage the power of intelligent decision making through balancing their hearts and their brains and making their heart and their brain work together. So it's something as simple as learning how to breathe coherently, where your heart and your brain are in sync. And when they're in sync, you're in the best position to make the decision and afterwards take action. So that's one of the things that I want to emphasize to our listeners because in my circle, I grew up believing that, if you want to be successful and if you want to thrive, then you have to let go of your heart. You have to make your head become the point of decision. But,
Mm.
science is now saying that without the balance of the brain and the heart to decide on a matter, then it only becomes 50% effective. So the other two that you mentioned about Reiki is helping us clear the blocks of whatever it is that's holding you back. For example,
Hmm.
when I had my first Reiki experience, I was going through an awakening experience because in our journey, we were all taught that life is about suffering. Is that something that you also heard in your life, Nikki, or am I the only one who
I
who
mean,
heard it?
yes. Well, I used to think like in stoicism, right? I used to think it was pessimistic, then parang, okay, life is all suffering, but you have to learn how to deal with it kind of way. So in some way, yes, I have heard of that.
Yeah, awesome. So, it's interesting because for most of my 25-year uh, period of my life, I was conditioned to believe that life is suffering. And then when I started studying New Thought philosophy, metaphysics, and principles of unity, I found out that life is consciousness. Life is what you program it to be. So if you think that there's so much to praise and celebrate in your life, which is, by the way, Oprah Winfrey's mantra, which she keeps saying every day. I celebrate life every moment because things are always working out for me. I heard her say in one interview, every morning she wakes up and then says, I celebrate life every moment because things are always working out for me. So I added the word praise in my word. So every morning, one of my mantras before was, I praise and celebrate life every moment because things are always working out for me. And when I began affirming it many times over, it became, it became my knee jerk reaction to whatever was happening. And it's so amazing when you have adapted that kind of mantra, not on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level, because your knee jerk reaction now is to become grateful, even if the situation becomes so challenging.
Right. Yeah.
So, another thing is that you talked about the tarot cards. And personally, for me, I'm a fan of the angel cards because
Mm.
they're just more benevolent. The energy that they have is more benevolent. And I'm just, I really think that there's no such thing in the world that's so heavy that a benevolent energy will not be able to handle um, easily. So, for example,
Mm-hmm.
when I just want to get a message, one of the things that I check is to pull a card, place it in my heart, just pick one card, and then this one, for example, I picked one and it says here, positive recognition. Congratulations, your plans have worked out perfectly. And now it's your time to shine. Brilliant new ideas will present themselves to you, and success is all but assured. Express yourself openly and honestly, knowing that those surrounding you are trustworthy. Be open to unexpected opportunities. So that's one thing.
Mm. Yeah, I can
All
see how
right.
benevolent it is. It's
Yeah.
uplifting.
Yeah. So anyway, I think let me just adjust my camera.
Sure,
All right.
problem.
So anyway, let me pick one for you, Nikki. So close your eyes.
Okay, sure.
Take a deep breath in. All right. So I'll pick a card for you. Let's just pick one.
Can I open my eyes now?
All right. So it says here, helper of thought, your life is about to start moving very fast. Events that seem to be on hold suddenly require all your attention. There's no time to sit and ponder. You've got to get moving, review the details as best as you can. You will meet or are someone with a very quick mind who instantly grasps what to do. This person is both confident and courageous.
Wow. Okay. That's move fast. Now I'm scared. I'm not ready. But if the universe says so, then I guess I can deal with it, right? So, thank you for sharing like how angel cards work, and like there is a branch of like card reading that is benevolent or seems benevolent. So, for monsters who are interested, angel cards they exist, and if you need something to reassure you or something you need guidance on, I find those reassuring for some reason. But anyway, as a metaphysician, as an energy healer, you identify yourself as a reverend. So is this a title that's bestowed by a certain religion? Are you a pastor, a priest, or a minister? Just to
Yeah,
clear the air, especially for listeners who are probably wondering the same thing.
yeah, that's a good question because, yes, I'm ordained by the International Metaphysical Ministry, which is
Mhm.
a group worldwide of metaphysical practitioners who are also ministers and pastors. So, if we have life coaching for the psychological point of view, we also have what we call theocentric psychology or God centered psychology. And honestly, there was a point in my life when I felt it was a lot easier to pray to the angels than to realize that I have a connection to God, because one of the things that I've been very open in Monster Radio is that my my preference for an intimate partner is also a girl. So we know in the Philippines, it's not easily accepted by a lot of people, but I'm happy because in metaphysics, people understand that the soul does not have a gender.
Mm-mm. That's right.
So we have infinite gender expressions. And I'm so happy to share that with everyone because one of the things that's super important to me is to live up to the kind of integrity that we've been taught in our philosophy, which is to live by your true nature with what you think is going to be the best and highest and most joyful version of your life for your own inner peace, growth, and expansion. It's nothing dogmatic. It's about living up to your highest potential. Because the moment you unlock your creativity, the moment you honor yourself and you love yourself unconditionally, it's so much easier for you to respect other people, to treat them nicely, to treat them with compassion, because that's how you treat yourself.
Mm-mm. For sure. And I think that plays well also when you say Satnam, because it's like truth is in my identity. I think that's what it stands for. And so for you to
Yeah.
share your truth as well, you know, which we so appreciate here, it's something that a lot of us can learn and not be afraid to, to live by, because if we are holding ourselves back by not admitting what it is that we truly want to become, then that's not really living, I don't think. So, I mean, but a lot of us, of course, we are still trying to figure out our way to get there eventually and try and heal so that we can be better as well. So, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of aspects in order to live to our highest potential. So, in terms of you being in terms of you being a devotion coach naman, does this have anything to do with love, or is this a devotion to personal goals? What is it about?
Yeah. For me, it's about, unlocking the happiest and most purposeful version of me because I like the word devotion because my friend in London and I, we talk about the origin of words. And when it comes to the word devotion, it comes from the heart. So you approach life with the foundation that's coming from the heart. And when it's coming from the heart, you're not easily swayed to stop. I had this interesting conversation with my friend yesterday, and we were talking about metaphysics and yoga and meditation and how it's still gaining acceptance in our country, why people have to allot money for services that we do, especially a lot of people in the middle of the pandemic, they feel, why am I gonna go into meditation instead of buying money for food, But one of the things that can be a great problem solver for everyone is to go to prayer and fasting. So, I'm crazy about prayer in metaphysics because prayers in metaphysics sound like this. This is actually the original Aramaic version of the Our Father. It's nothing religious. You'll see the practical value of it because here's how it goes. Father, Mother of the cosmos, shimmering light of all, focus your light within us as you breathe your holy breath. Enter the sanctuary of our hearts, uniting within us the sacred rays of your power and beauty. Let your heart's desire unite heaven and earth through our sacred union. Help us to fulfill what lies within the circle of our lives today. Forgive our secret fears as we freely choose to forgive the secret fears of others. That is such an important part of that prayer because sometimes our friends, our family members, or even ourselves, we really want to do something, but we hold ourselves back because either we're projecting our fears that we can't do it, we don't believe enough in ourselves, or
Mhm.
our parents or our friends, they tell us, I tried it, it didn't work for me, so you're just wasting your time, and we listen to them.
Yeah.
So that particular prayer is so powerful. And so another thing is when you end that prayer. Sorry. You end it with by mentioning the astonishing fire, and to clear up whatever so-called negativity that you experience from within you, because sometimes you can be your own worst enemy.
Mm-mm.
Or sometimes other people, they don't really mean to stop you from getting your goals. It's just that whatever it is that other people are projecting for you is based on their experience, especially if they don't have any background about energy. Some people, they just say, don't go into that because it's such a waste of time. Are you not listening to the economy? It's times are so hard. Put your money aside. And Nikki, something that I really wanted to share tonight, when Jesus Christ, here's the metaphysical perspective about it. When there was famine during his time, and in the Old Testament, there was a figure called Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus and Isaac, they both went through some periods of famine or something similar. But then the reason why I'm sharing this is because people will appreciate the practical value of it. Because when Jesus raised uh, the loaves of bread and the fish, and then he started praying for them to multiply, it didn't really mystically multiply from the ethers. You know what happened? When he raised it, the people realized, hey, you know what? We're attending his class and we're not bringing out our own food. This is really embarrassing. So every one of those 5,000 attendees, they realized, hey, you know what? This is really embarrassing. Maybe we should also be contributing something. And when everybody of those 5,000 people started opening their bags and started sharing whatever bread and fish they had, they realized, you know what? There's no such thing as lack, because when we all brought out our food, we have so much in abundance. And what's happening the last 2 years, very few people are daring to start businesses or to go after what they really want because of that fear that was passed on in the collective consciousness. But in truth, if everybody just dared, you know what, this is the thing that I have. And if I just plant right now something simple, maybe it's going to come back to me with 3 customers because I'm willing to start a business or just be self employed and start serving 3 customers. And I'm just gonna be in the frame of mind where I'm planting. I'm not gonna be in the frame of mind where I'm going to immediately reap. But there's nothing wrong if that's the case for you, where you're reaping immediately. There's nothing wrong with that. But
Right.
also have a frame of mind that whatever it is that you're putting out there, think of it like you're planting it and it's gonna come back to you. Maybe not with the same people, but it's gonna come back to you.
Mm-mm. And it's a nice way. It's a cool, interesting way of like looking at that, biblical story that all of us grew up learning and relearned also throughout the years of like being in school. So, um, it's it's really it's really intriguing, like the way that metaphysics works. It's fascinating also that there is this school of thought that does really help us understand more about like how the universe works and how it is. It's a good force. It's like it's a benevolent force, I like to think. Now, um by the way, before we end the show, actually, we've been talking for quite some time. Tell us a little bit about Harvest Convention. So, how can monsters harvest their full potential, and what happened in when the first Harvest Convention occurred or took place in May of 2021?
Awesome. Thank you for asking that question. Actually, it was October as well, same time as last year. Uh, but here's what happened. So, the first one was really dedicated to metaphysical practitioners. It was the first metaphysical convention. So, metaphysics is just saying, simply put, is going beyond the physical. You don't live in a purely material physical reality. You are governed by your thoughts and your emotions, which is beyond physical. But when you know how to self regulate and use it optimally, then things are going to move to your advantage. You can create your own universe of experience,
Mhm.
whether that's going to be delightful, or maybe it's something that's going to teach you a lesson because for some reason you have misused your powers of your thoughts or your emotions or your words or your actions, because sometimes we're not always uplifted and we can be vulnerable. We don't always make the best choices.
Right.
But metaphysics educates us how do we handle those downward trends in our lives. So that's something that I want to share with the monsters. So the first thing is I really encourage you to, be in service in the most joyful way possible, because the moment you're in joy, you forgo the feelings of impatience. And most of the time, when you're impatient about something and you prolong it for a long period of time, then you're vibrating negativity for a prolonged period of time. And when you're vibrating negativity for a long period of time, you start attracting negativity. And then, if you prolong that, then you think life is so negative. But the truth is, you didn't decide to part ways with the negativity. So if you want to experience something better, something more joyful, something more benevolent, you have to be open and receptive to that kind of experience. And the only way you'll be able to do it is to decide to change your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, and your actions. In fact, one of my teachers was saying, the moment you get angry or you feel you've done something that wasn't in the best interest of everyone, plant the good plant a good deed to counter the to counter whatever it is that you think you did not do in the best interest of everyone.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's important for us to uh to instill also for us to not stay in the negative, no matter how sometimes it's actually tempting to just stay in the negative because we're already sucked into it, and you think it's not going to get any better, and which is a dangerous place to be in for sure. So for it's a reminder for the monsters for sure to let go of the negativity, try figure out what it is, the root cause, and just put it in a box like what Reverend Reg says. And so take action towards doing something positive. Now, for the second harvest convention, by the way, that's happening in November 13 and 14. It's going to be a hybrid convention. So,
Yeah.
uh, who will be the speakers and how can monsters want to participate in the second hybrid convention? Second harvest convention, rather.
Yeah. We have local and international speakers, and I'm very excited for everyone to be part of it, because if all of you watch The Secret, there are some things that you need to learn that will help you become more effective at applying the law of attraction. Because, in truth, the law of attraction, the foundation of that is the law of sowing and reaping. Whatever seeds that you sow in consciousness, your thoughts, your feelings, your words, and your actions, you're building a vortex of energy around you, and you're going to get back whatever it is that you've planted consciously or unconsciously. And this is the reason why I keep telling everyone, you do what you love to do, because when you're doing what you love to do, even if you're in the middle of something that's very limiting, you still tell yourself at the end of the day, you know what? It can be hard sometimes, but this is the thing that I love to do. So I'm not complaining, because it's just part of it. It's just part of the process.
Yeah.
And some of the speakers locally, some of the local speakers, my friend Francesca Warnke is going to be there. Uh, Let me just check, because there there are so many people who are part of the convention, and I'm just very excited because it's very rare that we have access to these teachers. One of my personal favorites is Teresa Garcia, who's a friend of mine and has been practicing energy healing on money
Mhm.
and relationships for a couple of years now. She's the one who actually taught a lot of us to think positive about getting paid for doing what we love to do, because that's what she demonstrated in her own life. And one of the things that makes me rave about her, one of the stories that she shared in the past with my circle of friends is how she overcame some financial limitations by winning 1 million pesos in a contest. And just a couple of months ago, she won a car, a brand new car.
Wow,
Yeah, and it's like a pattern for her to win. So
I want to
when
manifest that too.
yeah, so I'm very excited for that. And Lance Edward is going to be there, who's an actor, and he's going to share his secrets about entrepreneurship and how people can actually use his practice of metaphysics in
Mhm.
meditation in his own way to demonstrate that my coach Diana Vihuni, who's in the States, is also going to teach us about the art and science of real magic. And I highly encourage everyone to attend because, when I watched The Secret, I was so excited. I was just thinking about the thing that I really wanted to experience, and I didn't know the other components. So when there were situations that weren't working out the way I had it in mind, I got frustrated. And when I started reading her book, she was also sharing her frustration where she was saying, I started watching The Secret, I got so excited, and then all of a sudden I ran into some problems, and it didn't really pan out the way she was expecting it. So she decided to write the book, The Art and Science of Real Magic and Magical Living, which, by the way, I used myself, and that's how I was able to start a business. And, I'm just so grateful because when she wrote the book, she was so mindful at creating her own coaching system. She backed it up with her meditations, which I think is one of the best I've ever heard since I started meditating. So, it's really a treat for all of us to hang out with these people. And another one is Lynn Bailey, who wrote the book Breaking Out of the Darkness. She's going to be one of the speakers. She's thoroughly researched her book because if you're someone who wants to try energy healing and you have no gauge of what to expect about energy healing, you can get her book Breaking Out of the Darkness, and you'll at least have an idea what it is all about and what to look out for. Another one is a colleague of mine, Reverend Patricia Wagner, who's the founder of Living in Heart Centered Gratitude. She's one of the kindest souls I've ever met, and I think it's really going to be awesome if you have the opportunity to be around her because you'll realize kindness on its own can help you awaken to a solution to whatever it is that's really challenging you. Another one is Reverend Richard Pacheco is going to talk about the power of consistency because, Nikki, one of the things that is, I think, was so hyped in the law of attraction, people think that when they start thinking it one time, then that's it.
Mhm.
But in truth, there's also some level of consistency that you need to apply in order for you to have that enduring result. And another one is Dennis Taban, who's a refugee and who's going to talk about healing after the war. Because one of the things that I want to create in the Harvest Convention is the culture of dreaming big, staying in your center, and remaining compassionate. So, one of the reasons why it's so difficult for a lot of Filipinos to get financial breakthroughs, it's because it's deeply embedded in our collective consciousness that to make a lot of money is evil, that money is the root of all evil. If you have that stored in your body as a belief, even if you're working so hard, your subconscious aspect is going to find a way to release all the money that you've earned. You're going to go into a self sabotage mode because number one, you think it's evil, and a lot of us, we don't want to be evil. Subconsciously, we're going to create a circumstance that's going to make you lose it. Another one of the speakers is Tina Brinkley Potts, who's a colleague of mine, and she's going to talk about fueling your mission with profits because a lot of us, you want to do a lot of good, but if you don't make enough money to sustain your personal expenses and to do your charity work, your benevolent giving in whatever way, shape, or form you feel called to do. Tina's gonna give you the practical advice on how you're actually going to launch your passion and use your passion to make money, and then also find a way to strategically use it for your mission in whatever way, shape, or form you feel called to serve.
Mhm.
So, it's something that makes me proud, although honestly, it's also very tiresome to physically, it's very tiresome, but emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, I feel so fulfilled doing this.
Mhm.
We're working at different time zones, and one of my friends whom I guested in my podcast last time, Reverend Jocelyn, she's going to talk about, the gifts of being in service, because I'm not sure how many of people in our generation actually feel that, it's such a cool thing to serve. I'm not sure how many of us have that mindset right now. But
True.
once you really understand the beauty and the practicality of metaphysics, you'll understand why I'm constantly raving about it. So there, if you have other questions, I'm happy to answer them. And if you guys want to be a part of it, send me a direct message through Rev Reg Tan, Rev Reg space Tan on Facebook, and Reverend underscore Reg in Instagram.
All right. There. For the monsters who are interested, go hit up Reverend Reg to join also the Second Harvest Convention, because it's a hybrid convention, by the way. So you don't necessarily have to be there. You can also be there online. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
And
perfect. So yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
the tickets that you purchase will actually cover your attendance and cover somebody else's attendance who really wants to attend but they're not able to afford it. So, we can all expand our awareness and just really enjoy demonstrating the things that we really want to demonstrate afterwards.
For
And by
sure.
the way, a good friend of mine who's also a TV host and is the co-founder of Om Heals, the CEO of Metabizics, Jennifer Cahill, is going to talk about uh, vocal mastery. So, I love her Facebook Live because she keeps talking about how we can practically use metaphysics on a daily basis. In fact, it was from her that I learned to ask the question, how does it get any better than this? Because
Mhm.
the moment that you keep saying that, no matter how limited you feel you are in the circumstance, or you feel that life is pushing against you, if you keep saying that enough number of times, your brain is going to prompt you for something that's really better than the situation.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Well, thank
I
you so much. Go ahead.
Yeah, I am so excited because last year we recognized Rafi Reyes, the director of Heard on Thursdays. Please,
Yeah,
let's give him a round of applause because, one of the things that's so overlooked on radio is the people behind the scenes. But, the way Rafi created Heard on Thursdays, I think it's phenomenal because uh, professionals like me, at least we have an opportunity to talk about our passion, our industry
for sure.
to, the mainstream media, which normally would not get across mainstream media because it's just not the type of thing a lot of people in the media are interested to highlight. So I'm very grateful to Rafi and to you, Nikki. Thank you for having me. And to Marky, of course, because he's the one who introduced me to Monster Radio. And, I'm really happy for him because he's doing really well.
Yeah, for sure. And so thank you so much, Reverend Reg, for dropping by in the show tonight, talking to us about metaphysics, inviting also the monsters to the Harvest Convention that is November 13 and 14 of this year. So if you guys are interested, just hit up Reverend Reg on Instagram or on Facebook. But for now, though, thank you so much for taking the time to impart your knowledge on us and educate us on this school of thought on on metaphysics, how the universe works, and how we can best live our lives as well to our highest potential, as you say. So thank you once again to the monsters as well who are tuned in. But that is it. That is the show. Thank you so much. And catch me again next Thursday for another episode. So keep it locked for now, only here on The Monster. Bye, guys.
Monster exclusive interview. Monster exclusive interview. Only from Manila's hottest. Monster RX93.1.